A brand new Ski-Doo trail sled weighs more than a 1995 Thundercat. The Thundercat was the heaviest sled on the market that year. Riders complained about it constantly. Today, that same weight is just called Tuesday. If you've been thinking about getting back into riding, this is why the showroom feels wrong. The machines got heavier, more expensive, and impossible to fix yourself. And manufacturers did it on purpose, while calling it progress. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the industry killed the lightweight era after riders proved it worked. You'll hear about the mountain sled revolution that forced manufacturers to care about weight again. And if you want back into snowmobiling without the modern bloat, I'll give you exactly what to look for in the used market right now. Real prices, real machines. Stay with me. Let's go back to where it actually began. 1959. A Bombardier Ski-Doo Olympique. Rear engine, rubber track, 2 wooden skis. Weight, around 275 pounds. It wasn't light because some engineer had a vision. It was light because they hadn't figured out how to make it heavier yet. Fiberglass body panels, a simple Kohler or Rotax engine, a single drive shaft. That was it. The design language of those early machines was forced minimalism. And forced minimalism, it turns out, works. By the late 60s, you had over 100 manufacturers across North America building variations on the same basic idea. Light frame, small motor, go forward in the snow. Most of them were building machines in the 250 to 400 pound range, not because anyone was being clever about it, because the material science and the budget didn't allow for anything else. Then Yamaha showed up. 1968. Yamaha enters North America with the SL350, motorcycle-grade manufacturing discipline applied to a snowmobile, about 330 pounds. Better fit and finish than half the American brands. More reliable in the cold. And the Japanese engineers had a philosophy that some of the Wisconsin and Minnesota fabricators didn't yet apply. Every part serves a purpose, or it doesn't exist. That philosophy would become extremely important about 12 years later. By the early 70s, racing changed everything. If your sled won at Eagle River or Iron Dog, you moved product. If it didn't, dealers started calling. And racing taught one lesson above all others. Every pound you remove is free horsepower. Ski-Doo understood this first. The TNT series, Trail and Track, launched in 1969 as their performance line, purpose-built for speed. They stripped everything non-essential. They pulled weight off the tunnel, they lightened the suspension, the 1970 Ski-Doo TNT with the Rotax 775 twin. When it hit the race circuit, it was fast. Genuinely fast. But did you know the production race version of that sled weighed roughly 450 pounds in race-ready trim? By today's standards, I know that sounds hilariously light for something pulling over 70 horsepower and doing 80+ miles per hour on a frozen lake. That sled could run a full race season and be torn down, rebuilt, and run again. The racing culture of the early 70s created a religion around lightness, and the manufacturers took that religion into their production lines, which is exactly how we got to the machine that still gets talked about more than almost any other. 1980. Polaris introduces the TXL Indy, named Indy for the independent front suspension. You already know that story. But what rarely gets emphasized as loudly is what it weighed, 443 pounds. Dry weight. For context, competitor sleds of equal performance class were averaging 500 to 530 pounds at that point. Polaris hit the trail under 500 pounds with a machine that handled better than anything else on the market. Aluminum tunnel, smaller purpose-built engine compartment, deliberate elimination of components their engineers considered unnecessary. The industry noticed. Sales proved it. Within 2 years, dealers were putting wait lists on the Indy lineup. Meanwhile, Arctic Cat's Jag series were doing something similar for a completely different rider. A 1983 Jag 3000 weighed around 340 pounds. With a 294 cubic centimeters Kawasaki fan-cooled engine that revved to 8,000 revolutions per minute and made about 33 horsepower. Not fast by any standard. But at 340 pounds, running on basic premix, needing zero from a dealer for a decade, that's impressive. People who literally could not afford to be stranded 40 miles from a road chose them on purpose. And Yamaha kept doing what Yamaha does. The 1985 Enticer 340, around 380 pounds. Fan-cooled twin, so mechanically reliable that its architecture eventually ended up in ultralight aircraft engines. They trusted those mills to keep people airborne. Let that sink in for a second. This was the golden window. Peak, you could say. Roughly 1978 through 1989. Manufacturers were making production sleds that were genuinely light, genuinely capable, and genuinely fixable. But wait until you hear what they decided to do with it next. It started innocently enough. Electric start. 1987. Adds about 8 pounds. Okay, fine. Then heated handlebars, then a reverse system, then a heavier headlight assembly. Then the full liquid-cooled system with its coolant reservoir, heat exchangers, thermostat housing, overflow tank, and 12 feet of hose. Liquid cooling, done right, does unlock more power at the high end. That's true and fair. But the 1987 Ski-Doo Formula Plus liquid-cooled setup added 23 pounds compared to the fan-cooled configuration it replaced. The 1988 Formula Plus weighed 521 pounds. From the same brand that had sleds competing at 450 a decade earlier. That's 70 pounds gained in roughly 10 years. The horsepower war made it worse. 580 cubic centimeters became 700 cubic centimeters, became 800 cubic centimeters, became 1,000 cubic centimeters. Each displacement jump meant a heavier crankshaft, heavier pistons, a bigger fuel delivery system, a beefed-up clutch to manage the torque. A 1995 Arctic Cat Thundercat, their 1,000cc big bore machine, weighed 570 pounds in 1995, being sold as a premium performance product. Riders lined up for it. Nobody was asking the uncomfortable question. Nobody was standing on a scale with their new sled and working out what that extra 100+ pounds over an Indy actually cost them on the trail, in powder, on their back, on their budget. The story gets a bit crazy from here. By the mid-2000s, manufacturers started playing games with how they reported sled weight. The spec sheet number and the actual weight your sled sits at on the trailhead became two very different things. And the manufacturers knew it. Let me show you an example. Arctic Cat's M-Series Mountain sleds in the 2018 to 2020 era. The spec sheets on the M8000 Mountain, Cat 162-inch, listed a dry weight that multiple independent owners, after buying their sleds and putting them on scales, consistently found to be 20 to 25 pounds heavier than advertised. What manufacturers were doing was listing weight without reverse, without the heated grip option installed, with the minimum track length variant, and with zero fuel in the tank. Fill the tank. That's another 16 to 17 pounds. Add the reverse system, another 4 to 6. Add the handlebar warmer harness, another 2. Suddenly that sled is 30 pounds heavier than the sticker said. In mountain riding, 30 pounds is the difference between riding out of a high mark and digging your sled out for 40 minutes while your buddies watch from the ridge. Yes, this was real. No manufacturer ever issued a correction. They just quietly updated their spec methodology eventually, without announcing the change. If that makes you angry, hit the like button right now, because we are not done. The mountain riders don't accept weight quietly, because mountain riding punishes weight in ways that trail riding only hints at. You can't muscle a 500-pound machine out of chest-deep powder at 8,000 feet. You can't side-hilling a heavy sled across a steep face without risking the whole thing sliding out from under you. By 2005, Western riders in Utah, Idaho, Montana, and British Columbia were fed up. The average mountain sled was pushing 490 pounds. It was too much. The first serious response came from Ski-Doo's Summit line. They kept pulling weight off the mountain platform through the mid-2000s, reaching the Summit X800 at approximately 470 pounds by 2010. Progress. Real progress. Then 2013. Arctic Cat drops about 40 pounds from their mountain platform with a revised chassis. Genuine reduction. Then 2015, this is the big one. Polaris launches the XYS platform on the Pro RMK. The 2015 Pro RMK 800 and 155 inch, approximately 403 pounds. Actual scale weight, not spec sheet math. They achieved it by going to a narrower, stiffer chassis, a redesigned suspension geometry, and a more aggressive approach to eliminating redundant structure. 40+ pounds lighter than the previous generation Pro RMK. That number shook the industry. Drop a comment if you remember the first time you rode an XYS, because that's a sled that rewrites your expectations. You don't forget it. Then Ski-Doo answered with the Reversion 4 in 2017. The 2017 Summit 850X on the Reversion 4 chassis, around 425 pounds. The previous Gen 3 Summit 800, approximately 478 pounds. 53 pounds gone in one model year. For a 5-year window, roughly 2015 to 2020. The mountain sled market was in a genuine lightweight renaissance. Engineers who grew up hearing the old stories about the Indy and the Entizer were finally delivering on the same promise. And then something happened? Same thing that always happens. Turbos, and 4-strokes, and electronics packages. Let's be direct about what a turbocharged 4-stroke engine brings to a snowmobile. A Yamaha Sidewinder's 1,049 cubic centimeters turbo 4-cylinder is an impressive piece of engineering. Smooth power, huge mid-range, no argument there. It also weighs roughly 110 pounds more than the Ski-Doo 850 E-Tech 2-stroke it competes with on paper. The 2024 Yamaha Sidewinder X TXLE, 582 pounds. The 2024 Ski-Doo Renegade 900 ADCE Turbo R, 578 pounds. Both of these machines cost well north of $20,000. And we are back to being heavier than a 1975 Thundercat. We went backward, on purpose, for horsepower numbers. The electronics added weight too. Traction control sensors, ride-by-wire throttle systems, GPS-integrated digital gauges. The 2023 Polaris Patriot Boost 650 turbo system alone adds 22 pounds compared to the naturally aspirated 850. None of this is making your sled easier to manage when you're 62 and you've already shoveled the driveway twice this week. Let me put the real numbers side by side. 1980 Polaris TXL Indy, 443 pounds, approximately 65 horsepower. Genuine trail performance. Revolutionary for its time. 1985 Polaris Indy 600, approximately 468 pounds, around 80 horsepower. Best of the lightweight era. 1995 Arctic Cat Thundercat 1000, 570 pounds, 130 horsepower. Already a different category. 2015 Polaris XYS Pro RMK 800 155 inch, 403 pounds, approximately 160 horsepower. The mountain comeback. 2017 Ski-Doo Summit 850X Gen 4, 425 pounds, 165 horsepower. The pinnacle of the lightweight renaissance. 2024 Ski-Doo Renegade 900 ACE Turbo R, 578 pounds, 185 horsepower. Back to Thundercat era weight for trail riding. 2024 Yamaha Sidewinder XT XL, 582 pounds, 200 horsepower. The heaviest the industry has been in 30 years. You see exactly what happened. We climbed out of the weight hole between 2013 and 2018. Then we fell straight back in. The sweet spot, machines in that 400 to 450 pound range with 150 plus horsepower, existed for maybe 5 years. Then horsepower marketing took over again. The median snowmobile rider in North America is now 54 years old. A 578 pound sled is not the right tool for that rider's back, his budget, or his 4-hour trail ride with 3 buddies on a Tuesday when he finally got the day off. It never was. So let's come to the point. What can you actually do right now? First, if you want to ride without modern weight and complexity, the used market right now is genuinely on your side. The 2015 to 2017 Polaris X YS Pro RMK 800 is selling for roughly $4,000 to $7,000 depending on condition and track length. That's a 403-pound, 160 horsepower machine that was the industry benchmark. For the price of 1 season's worth of dealer maintenance on a new turbo sled, the 2017 to 2019 Skeezy Dew Summit 850 Gen 4 is running $5,000 to $8,000 depending on condition and spec. The 850 E-Tech is one of the most widely understood and serviced 2-stroke engines in the modern snowmobile market. Part support is strong. Dealer familiarity is high. Second, when you're evaluating any used sled, get it on a scale before you commit to a price. Not because you don't trust the seller, because advertised spec weight and real-world weight have been different numbers in this industry for 20 years. A bathroom scale under each ski and one under the running board gives you an actual number in 4 minutes. Do it. Third, if your riding is trail-focused, don't write off all modern machines. The naturally aspirated 850 class is the right call for most actual riders in 2025 and 2026. The 2023 to 2024 Polaris Indy XC 850 runs at approximately 474 pounds. The Ski Dew MXZ 850 is around 477 pounds, under 500, genuine power. Far less complicated than their turbo siblings and significantly cheaper to maintain. Fourth, follow what the mountain crowd is riding and testing. Mountain riders punish bad sled choices faster than anyone. The Western mountain community on forums like Arctic Insider and Snowgoer, and on YouTube, these are the people who put sleds on scales and post honest numbers. Their reviews are the most accurate weight evaluations in the industry right now. Fifth, and this is specifically for the guys who grew up in the Indy era, if you haven't ridden a 2015 to 2019 X Suez Pro RMK or a Gen 4 Summit, try one before you write off everything modern. They're a hell of a lot closer than the 582-pound Sidewinder that gets the magazine covers. Here's the honest worst case if we do nothing. Turbocharged 4-strokes keep gaining market share. Average sled weight climbs past 600 pounds across the mainstream lineup by 2028. The naturally aspirated 850 class gets discontinued because it can't beat turbo horsepower numbers in a spec sheet comparison. Riders in their mid-50s pay $1,400 a year in dealer maintenance for a machine that was honestly designed for a 28-year-old backcountry rider in Colorado, not a retired electrician in Michigan who rides 4 weekends a year. And the manufacturers will say the market demanded it. Same line they used when they killed fan-cooled. Same line they used when they moved production out of Minnesota. Same playbook, different decade. So please, vote with your purchase. The 850 class is still alive because enough riders bought it instead of the turbo. I want to hear 2 things from you guys. 1, what's the lightest sled you personally ever rode? And what was it actually like compared to what you're riding now? I want the specific model, not just it felt lighter. 2. If you could bring back one machine from the lightweight era, new from the factory, 2026 production run, what would it be? Year, make, model. Give me the specifics. Drop it all in the comments. I rid every one. If this hit somewhere real, hit the like button. It tells me this is worth making more of. And subscribe if you want honest snowmobile content. Check out the next video right here.